Welcome to the B2B Growth Blueprint podcast, where we talk with entrepreneurs, founders, and leaders at B2B services, tech, and SaaS companies to learn the systems and processes they've used to create success for their business. We'll also learn from marketing and sales experts to provide insights to help you grow your business. I'm your host, Mark Osborne, and the podcast is brought to you by Modern Revenue Strategies and their 10x ROI B2B growth guarantee. Schedule a free diagnostic call to learn the fastest path to double your B2B revenues in just 90 days. Hello, and welcome to another episode of the B2B Growth Blueprint podcast. I'm your host, Mark Osborne, and today I'm very excited to welcome my guest, David Wachs. David is a proven entrepreneur. His latest venture, Handwrytten, provides scalable robotic solutions that write your notes in pen. Used by businesses in all industries and nonprofits, Handwrytten changes the way brands and people connect. Prior to Handwrytten, David founded Cellit, which was a leading mobile marketing platform with clients including Abercrombie and Fitch, Walmart, and more. January of 2012. And both Handwrytten and Cellit were on Inc. magazine's 500 list of fastest growing companies. David's a speaker on marketing technology, has been featured in the Washington Post and the Wall Street Journal, and is a contributor to Inc. magazine. So I'm very much looking forward to this conversation. David, welcome to the show.
Thank you, Mark, for having me. It's a pleasure.
Yeah. So, as much as I want to talk about the features and the functionality of Handwrytten and talk about how that fits into a marketing and sales mechanism, a lot of our audience are entrepreneurs and founders themselves, and they'd love to hear a little bit of your kind of entrepreneurial story. Tell us a little bit of the twists and turns that brought you to where you are today.
Yeah, so I was going back to 2000 and I'd say three. I moved out so that was 23 years ago. Yikes. I moved out to San Diego to work for a venture capital firm. That ended up being a colossal, epic cluster. I was in a car accident. I got evicted from my apartment. The car accident was my fault. I take credit for the car accident. I don't take credit for being evicted from my apartment due to the owners being in a divorce decree, and they're battling over who gets the apartment and all this baloney. Getting fired from my job from the venture capital firm. The guy was a nut. They haven't even filled that role since then, if that tells you anything. And then flooded out. So in that very short time of 4 months, I went from being kind of an entitled Ivy League kid with a venture capital job to being kicked on my ass on the street. So I didn't know. And the problem was I took all my money prior to that and I used it to pay down my huge Ivy League school debt. So I had nothing left in the nest egg when I was fired. I was tapped, and I tried applying for other VC jobs, didn't get them. And I crawled back home to Phoenix, Arizona, where I grew up. And I spoke to my dad, and he said, well, this is back before the iPhone. This is before Zillow. And he said, it would be really great to use Blackberries or barcodes to get information on properties, because he's a realtor.
Yeah.
And, you drive by a house and the flyer box would be empty, et cetera. So I said, well, maybe not Blackberries and barcodes, although the barcode thing these days with QR codes,
QRs, yeah,
prescient. I said, but how about texting? So you could text in, you get a sign, you text in the code found on the sign, you'd get back info on the property, the realtor would get a lead. And to give you a sign of the times, you could even reply with your fax number, the fax of more info on the property. That's just to tell you what it was like 23 years ago. So started that company, quickly decided I don't want to be a one-horse race or whatever. I want to have more skills. So I moved from just real estate to general texting for nightclubs and bars and that type of thing. And because dealing with realtors can be tough. So did that. And then our first big client was actually Marie Claire magazine. And then we got For Rent magazine, which at the time you'd go to a supermarket and you get these catalogs of apartments for rent.
Yeah.
We took our house for sale, our real estate offering, and applied it to every apartment in the magazine.
Wow.
And then we got Sam's Club, Office Max, Toys R Us, Abercrombie. The list just grew to the point in 2009. I'm sorry, 2014. So this 2011, I sold, 2012, I sold the company to a marketing firm called ePrize, when we were doing about 1 million texts a day just for one client alone, Abercrombie, along with everything
Wow.
else. So sold to them, had to work for them for 2 years. They quickly got purchased by a very large private equity firm. So I had to deal with that, uh, the troubles of dealing with private equity. And then the next day after my earnout, which is like when you get bought, you're locked in with golden handcuffs. That's called an earnout. Uh,
Yeah.
and as soon as my earnout was over, the next day I started Handwrytten. And the
Oh,
reason I did it is a couple fold. Number one, I didn't know what else the heck to do. Number two, when I sold Cellit, I wanted to send my customers and my employees something meaningful. So I sat down with a stack of thank you cards and stamps and all that. I started writing them thank you notes. I went off moo.com. I got really nice stationery, all this stuff. And it quickly became very difficult.
yeah.
Uh, I'm probably ADHD or whatever, and I couldn't get through the notes, and my hand cramped and my penmanship sucked. So I thought there had to be a better way. And so with that, I thought of the idea of sending a handwritten note as easy or easier than sending an email. That's where Handwrytten came from. So that's kind of the backstory on Handwrytten. And I can get into what Handwrytten is if you want, but it was really designed for me. And I also thought, everybody, we're sending 1 million texts just for Abercrombie, but everybody is also feels like they're receiving 1 million texts.
Yeah.
And at the time, they were getting 134 emails a day, spending 24% of their time just managing their inbox. Email was becoming a chore, not a surprise and delight. Text was overwhelming. Slack was now out, push notifications, all these other things, Twitter. And people were just starting to feel overwhelmed in 2014 with electronic communication. And that's kind of why I thought, let's pivot the other way. Um, so that kind of brings us to Handwrytten, but don't know if you want to go
Yeah.
deeper on the past or the future or what.
Well, so I definitely, on this show, we talk a lot about, marketing and sales systems,
Yeah,
not silver bullets or one-trick ponies, but really the systems that help, companies accelerate deals, attract the right prospects, all of those things.
yeah,
And so I want to talk about how what I'm seeing in the marketplace is this swing from all digital
hmm
to more analog. And this fits perfectly in there, but still with some aspects of automation. But before we dive into how it fits in
yeah.
to sort of an orchestrated platform, tell our audience exact what is handwritten. How does it work?
So Handwrytten now is the world's largest, which is, understand this is a very small niche, but we are the world's largest provider of automated handwriting solutions. We are fully vertically integrated. So we build the robots, we write the software, we print the cards, for sending out handwritten notes at scale. Unlike Cellit, where we were doing 1 million a day, at Handwrytten, we're doing closer to 30 to 35,000 a day. So it's a much smaller product because it's not digital. It's not just a ping
Right.
to an SMS provider. So, um, but with that, the way we do it is we have these 200 plus robots. Each one holds a real pen. They write in 36 different handwriting styles or your own, and we have hundreds of custom styles that are locked to just their owners. So celebrities, CEOs, football stars, you name it, it's crazy. And we write out their notes on the cardstock of their choice, um, stuff it in an envelope, write on the envelope, and mail it for them with a real stamp. And that whole process takes about 2 days from writing the note through the whole QA process. We actually, there's no manual step, it's all automated. So we use a computer vision system we built to read every card to make sure the vectors, the line, the strokes of the card match what they're supposed to match. And if there's a dot missing over an I, we catch it and throw it away. And then we invisibly mark the card and insert it into a robot, an envelope. That envelope is then put on a robot for writing out the envelope. That way there's no chance of misstuffing. We will never stuff the wrong card in the wrong envelope. I mean, we have it down so much that we can detect 2 sheets of paper versus one in an envelope. So if by chance we stuff 2 cards in one envelope, we'll know that. And then we write on the envelope, stamp it with either a first class stamp or a pre-sort first class stamp, depending on your flavor, and then we mail it for you. So that's really handwritten in a nutshell. And we do it, it's good and it's bad that it's universally applicable. We do it for car dealerships, nonprofits, small business piano tuners, like piano tuners, large department store chains, multinational luxury goods. We do it for really anybody that feels they need a deeper relationship with their customer. And I think these days everybody does. So
That's right.
yeah.
So I love this because A, it's unique, but B, it really fills an important gap. And there's so many different use cases that I kind of want to just seed some so our audience can think about this, because what I have seen in the marketplace is, during COVID,
Yeah.
everything went very digital. So no more in-person meetings. Now everything's on Zoom.
Yeah.
But we always see pendulums swing. So it became so over here, and now I'm seeing people want to sit across the table from others now. Likewise, once everyone moved to texting, no longer did you even get emails anymore. You just got text messages.
Yeah.
And now there's just this, overabundance of text messages and emails because there's all this AI slop out there that's just sort of churning out communications constantly, and none of it has any character and none of it has any distinction. Just the form itself of using a handwritten note creates that distinction, even if you didn't send anything meaningful.
Yeah.
Which obviously there's the opportunity to actually send something meaningful. But I love it for so many use cases. And thinking about how this fits into an overarching approach, we see people that will set up software on a website that will identify a site visitor,
Yeah.
and then go out and enrich that site visitor's IP address with their name and their title and the company they work for, and then score them against, are they really my ideal customer avatar persona? And then, blast them an email.
Yep.
But there's such an opportunity to take that a step further and do something like this and send a handwritten note, especially for companies that sell really high value, highly considered solutions, like consulting or tech services or all these things.
Yep.
Likewise, so many folks, are sort of hunting for ways to stay relevant with their customers, instead of, sending another, have you looked at my proposal yet? Where are
I
you in your
know.
decision process? Honestly, even saying the same thing almost with a handwritten card is such a way to stand out. And, we do a lot of programs with folks where they'll identify like their dream clients that they really want to break through and break into. And, they know if any of these clients, could close, it could be a deal changer for them, or, a game changer in their business. And they're using really sort of blunt instruments to try to break through that never get opened. Emails get deleted, text messages get ignored, but a handwritten note always gets opened.
Exactly, man. I couldn't have said it better myself. In sales, I'd say they call it a pattern interrupt. I don't know if you've heard that term. And I haven't done too much sales training. I leave that to the salespeople, but I've sat in on some Sandler courses, and they call it a pattern interrupt, where you just do something different to catch them off guard. I think that's what a pattern interrupt is, and a
That's
handwritten
right.
note is certainly that. So, from that perspective, it works really well. And, we see our clients getting, post presentation to close substantially higher success rates from that. Um, but, for clients that are looking to automate it or integrate it, if not automate it, we have an amazing Salesforce, and I don't want to pitch anybody, but we integrate with Salesforce and HubSpot and Zapier and all the rest that make it really easy that to when a deal gets to a certain spot in a pipeline, you can send them either a fully custom handwritten note or a templated one, but they'll never know the difference. They'll just be happy you send them a handwritten note. And let me give one example of a counterpoint to that. So a couple years ago, I received a FedEx package. It was a flat, and I opened it up, and there was a card inside. And on that card, when I opened the card, there was a digital screen that started playing an advertisement. It was like a little, 3-inch screen or 2-inch screen that started playing a video about some SEO company. It was such corporate drivel that I couldn't get through the stupid ad.
Oh no.
And there was nothing written on the card. It was just somebody took the programmed card, stuck it in the mail, sent it to me. And then it came with instructions, fortunately, for recycling or sending back, which, so what that card did for me when I got it, all I wanted to, A, I said, this is a gimmick. B, all I wanted to know is how it worked because I'm an engineer. So I wanted to know how it worked. And then C, I thought, gee, this thing must be super, their services must be super high margin if they're willing to FedEx out these packages to everybody with these electronic doodads in them to prospecting. So I thought, so they're going to make a fortune off me.
That's right.
I'm an entrepreneur.
They're way overcharging.
Yeah, I don't want anybody to make a fortune off me, right? I was just trading emails with my accountant for the same thing. So I sent it back and I said, had you thought about just sending a handwritten note? It would be either you do it yourself or you hire somebody like us to it. It would be cheaper. It would be more authentic. It would have a higher likelihood to have the message read, not viewed, but read. It wouldn't create this impression of you're going to make me a lot of money, and it wouldn't be distracting,
Right.
So, but everybody is always looking for the next, gizmo, the next little cheat code thing, when sometimes it's just sitting right in front of them. It's just a handwritten note, write it your damn self. So it's really interesting. But on the working side, I'll give you a story. I mentioned a piano tuner. We do have a piano tuner in Pittsburgh, I believe. And he tunes your piano. He then doesn't see you for a year because your piano only needs to be tuned once a year. When he returns to he sends you an automated thank you note. He's hooked us up through Zapier. A year later, when he returns to tune your piano a second time, he often sees that handwritten note standing up on the piano. So not only was it opened, not only was it read, it was kept. And where was it kept? It was kept on their most prized possession in the home, the piano. And the space on that piano is often reserved for graduation announcements and family photos, right? Like, you as a marketer, and all businesses are marketers in some way, cannot buy that real estate. You just can't. But a handwritten note, because it connotes something different, is able to break through. And it's really unique that way. And I know your listenership is probably not a lot of piano tuners, but the same thing goes for everything. I mean, behind me, I know I'm on a green screen. I have all sorts of cards from,
That's right.
from my family and friends and everybody else. And people keep these things. So, when we call somebody after sending a handwritten note, we say, we'd use it for prospecting. We say, did you receive my handwritten note? If we say, did you receive my email? They'd say, let me check, and they'd search.
No.
But if you say, did you receive my handwritten note? They'd say, yes, I did. It's sitting right here. And then you say, let's sign you up. Right? Because if it's sitting right there, it worked, even if they don't realize it worked. That's the power of the handwritten note.
Yeah. Well, and we love to suggest things like this as part of an integrated program of, you have something that maybe drives people to the website, and then you identify site visitors if they're of a high enough value because they looked at the page that's the
Yeah.
most expensive thing you've got to sell, send them a note.
Yep.
Or you've sent them an email and they didn't respond, and maybe you did a LinkedIn connection and they didn't respond, but you know that if you could break in there, they'd be a really valuable solution. Now you trigger the handwritten note. Then when you send the next email, it's following up on that
Yep.
handwritten note. The next connection on LinkedIn is following up on that
Yep.
handwritten note, which cuts through the clutter so much better. And I love that things like this, you can in many ways set it and forget it, because you were talking about, your piano tuner that,
Hmm.
he's got an annual sort of relationship with them. He can put in the date that they signed up, and then 3 months in advance of having it come out, and have them, send another note, or whatever it might be. And we see where people that have, really high value clients, they'll put in their birthdays or their anniversaries, or other things like that, that gives them an opportunity to really stand out in that marketplace and really deepen those relationships.
Yeah. And, uh, again, I don't want to make this about handwritten with a Y. I want to talk about handwritten with an I, an actual note. But within our platform, you can obviously set up birthday card campaigns and all that stuff. So, yeah, that's a very useful, and you can include gift cards to Starbucks or Amazon, that type of thing. So it all that's this is again, this was made for me to use. And I was like, gee, wouldn't it be cool to have gift cards? And boy, did I, that it's what I call a classic brain fart for me, because next thing you know, we have gift cards stacked up, and we have fraud issues because people from Africa are trying to buy the gift cards to anyway. But we now have that solution. So you can go on our website and include gift cards with your projects.
Well, David, you're obviously, built something really interesting, and have a lot of expertise, and we could talk about it all day, but I got to be mindful of your time. But
Sure.
sort of give us the pitch, like for those folks that are listening, and they're thinking like, maybe this is for me. Like, who gets the most benefit from this type of solution, and how do you really help them?
Yeah. So if you're looking to improve the value of your clients, not I wouldn't say so much prospecting, but maybe during that sales cycle or after they purchase from you, the most expensive thing is customer churn. So
Yeah.
if you want to improve the relationships with your customers, drive more loyalty, more durability, then you should start sending them a handwritten note, and that can start with an I. Sit down and write it yourself. But then when you can't do it anymore and you want to scale it, then come to a company like Handwritten. We are not the cheapest solution. There's cheaper things out there, but we've seen what the cheaper solutions do. And, you have to think about your brand reputation. And do you want it to actually look handwritten, or do you want it to look like a bad phony that ruins your reputation?
Right.
So we are there as the largest, the best, the one with all the technology, the fastest, the most accurate, the safest, because we have all those QA steps thrown in to provide the best experience. And that takes a lot of people behind the scenes to do. That said, you know, cards are a buck 29 if you sign up for a business plan. And then postage is extra. So all in, it's about $2. So if you're doing a business project, what's $2? And this allows you to really create impressions and durable relationships at scale. It's all your card stock, so you can upload a beautiful card design. It can either be a folded card, either folded portrait or landscape, or a flat card, whatever you want. And then we print it, write it, mail it for you within 2 business days. So feel free to check out handwritten.com,
Yeah.
handwrytten.com. Go to the businesses tab. And then when you go there, you can request free samples. But a lot of people ask, does it look real? And what I'll say is, if you're not saying, gee, was this note written by a robot? Like if you get our sample kit, you're going to be scrutinizing the hell out of it. But if you send it to somebody, they're not going to do that. And we've really perfected the art of imperfection. So we've made things, not two different letters look different. Line spacing varies, left margin varies line by line. We do all these things to make sure that your note looks perfectly imperfect. And that's what we've gotten quite good at over the years.
I love it. Well, David, thank you so much for taking the time to join us. Handwritten with a y.com. I'll talk to you again soon.
Thank you very much.
Thank you for joining this episode of the B2B Growth Blueprint podcast. We hope you've gained insights to grow your business. If you enjoyed this discussion, please rate, comment, like on your favorite platform, and share to others who will find it useful. Do you know a CEO, founder, or leader at an early stage B2B services, tech, or SaaS company who would like to be a guest and share their story? Send us a note. Let's schedule a conversation.